Women's sporting events in London attracted more than 1.4 million attendees and contributed £54 million to the capital's economy in 2025 alone. That's according to new analysis from the Mayor of London, who has now boasted that London is the undisputed global capital of women's sport. We're here at the London Stadium for the launch of the report and to find out how the benefits of this surge in support for women's sport can trickle down to all Londoners.
One, women's sport wasn't visible at all, but also the accessibility wasn't there. So for me, I found rugby union, but I found it because my PE teacher suggested that I go to my local rugby club, which was an hour away. So it wasn't accessible at the time. Also, when I say about visibility, you just didn't see women's sport on TV. You definitely didn't see major women's sport events on TV. So all of that wasn't really in my world. So I wasn't very, if I'm true, I wasn't actually that inspired by women's sport. But what did inspire me was seeing like the Olympics out in Australia and seeing like the likes of Denise Lewis. But time has now changed. If we fast forward now to 2026, visibility is everywhere. You can't turn a corner without seeing or hearing about fantastic female athletes, the sporting achievements that they've made. Also now the investment that's put into women's sport, the commercial partners are there. I'm just so proud of where it's come. And when we talk about last year in 2025, to see the major events that took place there, women's rugby obviously was one of the big highs, and return for women's tennis to Queens. So much has changed, and I'm just pleased with where it's going. We've got to keep going because we still need change in other areas, i.e. governance, etc., in regards to women and female leaders. What it does do is it initiates inspiration. And again, I can only relate it to myself. I grew up in Edmonton. My borough was Enfield. Sporting opportunities were fairly limited. But when I started to see female athletes, I thought, right, there's a chance for me here. I'm going to hunt down my sporting club that will hopefully give me the steps to success. So that's what it does. The trickle effect becomes quite significant to the point where it stops being trickle and more being a flood, and that's what we're starting to see now. Many more girls are seeing these major sporting events and are going, what sport do I want to play? As opposed to going, well, all I can play is this because that's all that's been offered to me. And I can't afford to travel too far because I don't have the means or the accessibility to do so. So that's the impact it has. I think what's great about the report is that it does provide us tangible proof that women's major sporting events have social and economic impact. That in itself is quite significant, because then you can start utilising that and saying, listen, if we do this, this is what the return on investment will be. Listen, we're getting participation at those levels are increasing. We still need to keep pushing the envelope, as we say. And actually, what's quite interesting we touched on today is that it's great that the big major sports get that increase in participation. But actually, how do we make sure the smaller sports start to benefit from that? But something that I'm quite personal about and I'm very passionate about is actually how do we change leadership? How do we start to see more women in coaching roles, officiating roles, leadership roles? That's where the next change comes. Because those women and young girls who are playing in the sport, when they retire, I hope that they stay in the sport and become leaders of the future. So that's the next step I hope to see going forward.
The UK are doing particularly well in leadership across women's sport, and it's great to see this city leading that charge at the moment. And going forward, I think we need to ensure that we build on the infrastructure that's there, build on the cadence is really important. Inspiration of big events is really exciting and important, but what backs it up, certainly locally, is what matters. Are we providing enough pathways to girls taking part is a really important element of all, and knocking down some of that inequality that might not just be to do with gender, might not be around disability, or even people that are time poor that can't transport their kids around or have the time to participate. It's really important that as a major city that's hosting these big events, that we ensure that those are the next steps, really, is to building that infrastructure around it. As we look at the next 10 years, I think it's really important that we recognize that technology is playing such a huge part in all our lives. It's isolating us, it's separating us a little bit. And the one thing that really can bring people together is sport. The use of our mind, body, and emotions in real time has a fantastic impact on all of us, and it supports mental health and physical health, and makes the whole society a bit more prosperous. And I think that's the most essential nature. So, of course, more money into sport, the better.